So how are you? Kumusta lahat?
Good morning po.
Morning. Start with our discussion for today. We'll be discussing chapters 19 and 20. And if time permits, we can have a short discussion on yung lecture ni ma'am kanina. Okay? So what we'll be going to do is that we will answer our discussion questions, especially yung homework na binigay ni ma'am. Okay? So some concepts lang discuss for chapters 19 and 20. Now, this is the part wherein we were done with discussing microeconomics. Ngayon, macroeconomics naman tayo. So how do we define the economic success of a nation? Well, there are three principles, and that answers the first question on your discussion question. You have to have high output, meaning high gross domestic product, high employment, and price stability. So those are the three major goals for an economy. So what do we mean by gross domestic product? Gross domestic product is simply it is just a measure of your output. Okay, a measure of your output and how productive the economy is. Okay, so in measuring our gross domestic product, it could be in nominal terms or in real terms. Nominal terms, ito basically annotate na lang tayo. Your gross domestic product is just simply the sum. So your GDP, ideally is just simply the sum of all your goods I, the value of all your goods I. So P in P times Q. Okay, so simply this is how you calculate for your GDP. You get the market value of all your goods and services, final goods and services. Okay, so in nominal terms, ito yan siya. But if you're trying to compare now your GDP with your output or how productive your economy is, you now go to your real GDP, which is simply, ang ginagawa lang is that parang i-divide lang siya ng PI. So basically you're just so mangyayari is that Q na lang yung isasum. So you're what makes it difficult to compare nominal GDP is that both hindi mo ma-determine kung whether yung prices ang nag-change or yung quantity ang nag-change. So in order to answer this concern, kailangan mong meron kang dapat i-constant doon, and that would be your prices. So doon pumapasok yung base year. So currently we have a base year at 2018. So years before 2018, then most likely expect that they have lower GDP. Relatively kasi diba, your prices are increasing over time, whether slowly or drastically. And beyond 2018, doon ka na makikita ng mga positive na higher than 100 na GDP. Okay? So next is that we have this concept of the high employment. Again, may tinatawag tayo na working age population, okay, your WAP, which is divided into two, wherein dito pumapasok yung nandun sa labor force and outside of labor force. Okay? Your WAP, your working age is 18 and above. Or not all 18 and above are looking for work. So, dun sila sa outside the labor force. Those inside the labor force are 18 and above and are looking for work. So if you are looking for work and you're 18 and above, you are part of the labor force, and you could either be employed or unemployed. Okay, you are considered unemployed when for the past kung you are looking for work but you cannot find one. Okay, so Yun yung looking for, yun yung part ka ng labor force. Yun. Ang employed din has to do with meron tayong concept na tinatawag na underemployed. These are individuals who are currently employed but are still looking for work. So let's say, for example, they're working less than 40 hours per week. So, we consider silang underemployed. Okay? Another measure of economic success is yung price stability. We all don't want inflation, right? Yung sobrang taas ng mga prices and all. So we don't want that. So we want to have a stable price. We don't want as well na meron tayong deflation. So yung contrary ng inflation, if inflation is the rise of the level of the overall price, yung deflation naman is yung pagbaba niya. Okay, we also do not want this. No, because this would this incentivizes producers. So since lower ang prices, then hindi sila masyadong produce because wala masyadong income na-derive from prices. Yeah, yes, you can remember, no, positive related ang prices and output sa supplier na side. So yun. So what we want is a relatively stable price. In fact, no, it is expected that when the economy is growing, we would expect that the prices of goods there are also relatively higher. Now, if you look, punta ka sa US, no, a developed country, relatively mas mahal yung mga goods nila because it reflects the economy as well. Okay, but not necessarily. Hindi siya necessary na kapag mataas yung prices, then the economy is doing well. Okay, so it could be an after effect. As the standard of living increases due to higher output, you would expect prices to increase as well. Okay, so yun, so we want a stable price. So what are the tools of macroeconomic policy? How do we achieve high output, high employment, and price stability? There are two: fiscal policy and monetary policy. Fiscal policy has to do with the government side, whether through taxes or government spending, through transfer payments. Monetary policy, on the other hand, has to do with the central bank side, yung Bangko Sentral, which has to do with either selling or buying bonds, or has to do with interest rates. Okay. Now, it is included sa discussion questions ninyo yung aggregate supply and aggregate demand. We will not yet tackle that, pero just i-differentiate lang natin that aggregate demand is different from your market demand. Market demand is for a certain good. Aggregate demand is for all output, for all levels of output. A general output of the economy. Aggregate supply is also different from the market supply. Market supply pertains to only the market of a good. Aggregate supply has to do with the supply of all goods in terms of the overall price level. So magkaiba yun. Although we can see that it is still upward sloping and that the aggregate demand is also downward sloping. Okay. Proceed with let's with our national accounts. Okay, there are two ways wherein we can measure our GDP, right? The productivity of the economy. It's either by your product approach, o yung upper loop, if you can still remember in discussion ni ma'am, and yung income approach which is your lower loop. Okay, yung sa demand and supply, if you can still remember, you have the owners of the factors market and the goods market. Right? You can still remember that. So parang corollary doon is that your product approach is the goods market, the ones that is produced, the value of the goods that are produced. Okay, the income approach naman has to do with the factors market. It's pumapasok yung wage, yung rent, yung interest, and yung profits. Okay, so your product approach is simply or your expenditure approach is simply consumption. C is household consumption, I is investment, and that has to do with private investment. G is government expenditure, and X is net exports, which is export minus imports. Okay, this is equal to your income approach, which has to do with yung sa lower loop. Okay, the compensation, the wages, property income. Okay, dito pumapasok yung business profits, the rents, the interest, okay, production taxes, okay, taxes on production, pumasok yung taxes sa businesses, and depreciation. Okay, so both of these approach should be equal. Okay, kasi di ba, the concept is that whatever is bought in the goods market will be used to pay in the factors market. Dun yung idea nun, right? If you can still remember the cycle, whatever is produced and sold, okay, the sales of that will be used to pay for the use of the factors, or the factors, which is your labor, your land, your capital. Okay. Okay. Now, what are the deficiencies of GDP measurement? That has to do with your non-market activities, yung mga ginagawa nyo productive activities sa bahay, pagluluto, even in the black market, yung mga illegal na trading, these are not included in the GDP measurement. Okay, because wala tayong mabibigay na value. Kasi dapat pumunta siya sa market para magkaroon siya ng value. The only way for us to compare apples and oranges, which is also in your discussion questions, is for us to get the market value of each good, each final good. Okay, so pero since such activities na wala sa market, wala siyang price, then we cannot compare it along with the other final goods and services. Okay. The second one is yung omitted environmental damage. This is not included because it's difficult to measure the value of the environment. So usually subjective siya. How do you value pollution? How do you value the deforestation? Parang ganun. So these are some of the things that are not included in our GDP or in most economies. Although sinabi nga ni Ma'am, meron tayong yung mga environmental factors, measurements na over time ini-include sa GDP. But for the case of the Philippines, wala pa. Okay? Okay. So before we proceed sa ating discussion questions, let's go over na lang muna sa how do we derive our GDP, how do we derive our personal income from our GDP. Okay? So, sulat lang natin. So, we know that our GDP is C plus I plus G plus X, right? This is your household consumption. This is private investment. This is government expenditure, and this is net exports. Okay. This is equal, so this is your expenditure approach, your product approach. Okay, and this is equal to, again, by virtue of your income approach, this should be equal to your wages, right? Okay. Just check lang ha. This is equal to your wages, to your interest. Yan. Interest yan. Your rent, R, plus your unincorporated profits, business profits. So this has yung mga sole proprietorship, yung mga partnership na are not corporations, plus corporate profits. Okay. Okay. So again, the idea is that we need to derive our may kulang pa dito. plus depreciation. May depreciation pa dito. Yan. Okay. Plus indirect taxes. Okay. So this is your GDP, this is your expenditure approach or your product approach, and this is your income approach. Okay. Okay. Now, GDP minus our depreciation, depreciation is simply your net domestic product. Net domestic product, sorry for my writing. Net domestic product is simply GDP minus depreciation. Okay? Ito lang yun. You remove this. Okay? Now, from your net domestic product, you will be able to get your national income. National income. This is just national income at factor cost. Factor cost. Which is simply your NDP, which is net domestic product, minus your indirect taxes. Okay, indirect taxes, ito yung, say for example, sales tax, consumption tax, na hindi naman pumupunta sa business or hindi din pumupunta sa person. So diretso siya sa government. So yun, that is your indirect taxes. So what's left is, as you can, so what's left, okay, as you can see is, simply your wage, your interest, your rent, your unincorporated profits, okay, business profits, plus your corporate profits. So I forgot to tell you that your net domestic product is also called national income at market value. Okay, that is your national income at market value. I forgot to tell you that. So from your national income at market value or your net domestic product, if you deduct indirect taxes, you'll be able to get your national income at factor cost. Okay. However, so from here, no, you have your wages, your interest, your rent, your unincorporated profits, and your corporate profits. We take note, however, that your corporate profits, so your corporate profits is divided into 3, and not all of it will go to the individual. It will stay in the business. So what are these? Okay, your corporate profit is corporate taxes, okay, plus corporate savings, okay, plus dividend. Dividend is the one that is shared by its shareholders or stockholders, no? So dividend will go to the individual. So lahat na to, wages, interest, rent, unincorporated business profits, and dividend will go to the individual. Okay, since we're trying to derive our personal income, we must deduct corporate taxes and corporate savings from the national income at factor cost. So we'll have is that our personal income or PI is your national income factor cost, lagay ko na FC ha, minus your corporate taxes, okay, minus your corporate savings, okay, minus corporate savings, plus, okay, some individuals receive transfer payments from the government. Say, for example, yung social insurance mo sa GSIS, retirement fees. These are given by or conditional cash transfers. Yun yung binibigay ng government sa mga tao. So we can include transfer payments from the government. So that is your personal income. Okay? So meron kang personal income. So out of your personal income, may binabayad din ng tao na taxes. So if we deduct personal taxes from your personal income, you will be able to get your disposable income. Okay? And take note, if meron ka ng disposable income, you have the choice whether you consume it for consumption, okay, C, or you save it. Sige, lagyan na lang dito person para ma-differentiate siya sa government saving and sa business saving. Okay? Your disposable income is simply okay, so from your GDP, you deduct depreciation, you'll be able to get your net domestic product or your national income at market value. If you deduct further indirect taxes, you will be able to get your national income at factor cost. Now, if you deduct corporate taxes and corporate savings, then you add transfer payments, that would be equal to your personal income. Now, if you deduct your personal taxes from your personal income, then that would be your disposable income. Your disposable income can be used to buy things, to purchase things for consumption, or you save it as personal savings. Okay, so may questions ba dito? Okay, wala. Okay, sige. Now, we go to the concept of savings, investment, identity. Yes, may question. Wait lang ha. Let me check. Sige, I'll just read the question na. Sir, for the C plus S, do we also deduct taxes? Your C plus S is your disposable income. Okay, so na-deduct na si personal taxes mo dun. So as you can see here, okay, tayo. As you can see here, your disposable income is your personal income minus personal taxes. So after tax income is your disposable income. And now you have the choice whether you save it or you use it for consumption. So yung C plus S, wala ng taxes. Free of tax na yun. After tax na siya. Okay? Sige. Next. How do we yung savings investment identity? Okay? Alam natin at GDP muna tayo. GDP is equal to C plus I plus G plus X. Yung product approach on your right side. Okay? Now, income approach is simply, okay, you add your personal income and the business income. Okay, nakuha yun. Your personal income plus the business income. So what is your personal income? Personal income is simply consumption plus personal savings, SP, okay, plus transfer payments, right? The one that you get from the government minus the, that's, my apologies, that's taxes, okay, plus taxes, okay, minus the transfer payments that you get from the government. Okay, label lang natin to ha. This is your personal income. Okay, this is the person you just simply also add the income from the business. So the person, the income from the business, which is your corporate savings, SC, okay, plus the taxes, okay, plus the indirect taxes, okay, plus depreciation. Okay, so this is somehow represents, okay, this how somehow represents your business income. Okay, but take note that your taxes, okay, this tax here, and the other one here is your government income. Pero hindi lang siya explicit dyan. Okay, now, okay, so what we do is just combine like terms or ano natin sila, tawag dito, combine like terms or i-arrange lang natin sila. Okay, it's at here. So arranged by sorry. You have your personal savings, okay, plus the corporate savings, okay, plus depreciation. Okay, this is your personal savings. This is the savings of the business plus, okay, what is the savings of the government? Simply personal taxes, its revenue from the taxes, plus its corporate taxes, plus the indirect taxes, minus its transfer payments, right? Tapos, lagay natin si G. Yan. So, you'll be able to get, matitira na lang dito I plus X. Okay? So, this is your personal savings. This is your, this is personal savings. Okay. This is the business savings. And this is the government savings. Government. Okay? So, this government savings kasi yung revenue niya, yung lahat ng taxes, expenditure niya is from the transfer payments and yung G. So, in essence, your total savings is equal to your investment and exports, net exports. If there are no trading outside of the country, then total savings is just equal to investment. Okay, questions? Okay, my question dito, how does your corporate tax differ from indirect taxes? Your indirect taxes are like consumption taxes, right? So your corporate tax is based on the income of the company. Your indirect taxes are taxes imposed on, say for example, yung tariff. No, they don't go to the business side. They don't go directly to the government. Okay, so yung corporate tax is simply somehow same as your personal tax. It is dependent on your income. Indirect taxes are somehow relatively fixed and they go directly to the government. Okay, and I hope that is clear. Okay, so let's say for example, yung tax on sugar, tax on tobacco, they don't go to the business. Okay, they go directly to the government. Okay, questions on this one? Yes, and question, do we also move C on the other side just like G? Yes, kasi tinanggal na natin si C actually, na-dissolve na si C because we have C here and we also have C here. So kaya natira ito na lang. We move C and G to the left side, so we cancel out both C's and then we retain G here kasi wala naman siyang kapareho. So the total savings of the economy is equal to its investment plus net exports. Okay. Questions? Now, questions. Sige, let's stop there. Let's try to look at our discussion questions. Okay, for this one, wala masyado naman. Let's not go to that muna. I think this is the number one is answered already. What are the major objectives of macroeconomics? That be high output, high employment, and price stability. Yung sa number two, a large cut in personal, wala, let's not discuss muna ito kasi di ata na-discuss naman sa lecture yung how AD and AS move with respect to different movements or different scenarios. Pero, okay, yun. So let's move na lang sa number 7. I think number 6 is nasagot na natin. You sometimes hear you can't add apples and oranges. So that we can add apples and oranges in the national accounts. Dito yung pumapasok yung we use the market value of apples and oranges. So if you know how many apples and you know how many oranges, you multiply them with the respective prices. And since they are final goods, assuming that they are final goods, okay, they are not used for other purposes like making of orange juices or apple juices, then we can simply add their market value, and then they will be part of the gross domestic product. Okay. Now, number 7. Okay, let's answer number 7. Robinson Crusoe produces an upper loop product of 50,000. He pays 35,000 in wages and 2,000 in interest and 8,000 in rent. What must his profit be? Okay, yan lang muna. Sige, Zandra.
So the profit of Robinson Crusoe po, sir, would be 50,000 po. Galing po sa upper loop product niya po. And then po, profit po is total revenue minus total cost. So i-add mo na po lahat ng expenses. So for example po sa rent, 8,000 plus interest na 2,000 and wages na 35,000, which is equals to 45,000. So total revenue minus total cost, which is 50,000 minus 45,000, his profit would be 5,000 po.
That's correct. Yeah. Just check. Yes, the profit should be 5,000. Okay. See, if 3/4 of Crusoe's output is consumed and the rest invested, calculate Crusoe Land's GDP with both the product and the income approach and show that they must agree exactly. I think this has... Sige nga, can anyone show me or can share screen their answer? Okay, Raisa.
Sir, pwede pong i-share screen po?
Yes, wait lang ha. Stop sharing. Yeah, go. Share na.
Okay po, sir. Kita po ba, sir?
Yep, we can see it.
Hindi ko po sure, pero ang ginawa ko po is, kinuha po yung 3/4 ng 50,000 output niya. And then, nilagay ko po yun sa upper loop. And then, yung natitira pong investment, which is 12,500. So, C plus I equals 50,000. And then, for the lower loop po, pinag-add ko po yung wages, interest, and rent. And yung nakuha ko pong profits, which is 5,000, para po maging 50,000 din po.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you for... So I hope everyone got the correct answer as well. Okay, so the investment is 12,500. Okay, while your consumption is around 37,500. Okay. Okay. Number 8. So number 8, examine the price change numbers shown in page 403. So let me go 403. Here. Okay, anyone? Hindi ko pala na-share. Okay, anyone who would like to answer? What is the... Okay, Jay. What is the first question? Yes. Can you speak louder, Jay?
Using po the formula na nakalagay po sa taas ng table. So, bali, in-add ko po yung products, relative importance,
Mhm.
and then yung percentage change na in decimal form. Tapos, minultiply ko po by 100 yung sum ng product since ito yung nakalagay sa formula. And yung nag-arrive po is 3.97, which is kapag ni-round off mo po sa first digit na po before, and it is exactly the same sa lumabas po sa table.
Yeah, that's correct. 3.97, which is approximately equal to 4. Okay, thank you, Jay. Okay, the next is the level of, let's compute for the level of the CPI in March 2007 was 205.10. Let's calculate the CPI for March 2008. Anyone from the class? Okay, Maxine.
Sir, I will try po.
Sure. Will you be sharing the screen?
I know po, sir. I will describe na lang po what we did. So, for letter B po, to find po to calculate the CPI for March 2008, I got the CPI from 2007, and then I added the percent change in CPI times the CPI in 2007. So, the CPI in 2007 is 205.10 plus the percent change in CPI, which is 3.97. And then the CPI of 2000. And then I divided the CPI of 2007 to 100. And then I
That's
got
correct.
213.24247 or 213.24. That's all.
Yes. That's correct. So the correct answer is 200. Share na lang this one. Answer is 213.24. Okay, that's correct. Now let's go to the homework na binigay ni Ma'am. Is that... Let's try to answer this. Okay, using your macroeconomic, were you able to try to answer this? Anyone? Meron ba sa inyo nag-try sumagat nito? I think si Raisa nag-send sa akin ng file. So let's try, okay? First is that using our macro, okay, sige, Jazel, number 1. Using our macro, let me just share din, no? Let me just open the macro data first.
Opo.
Sige, Jazel, let's look at.
Share ko po yung screen ko or kahit sabihin ko na lang po.
You can show your screen.
Bali po ito. So, using your macroeconomic indicators dataset, refer to the Excel file uploaded in Nublet titled Page Macroeconomic Data for Chapter 19. Compute the growth rate of the Philippine economy for 2019. So, ginamit ko po yung dalawang column po ng values. Yung nominal po muna, which is yung exact values po. So, growth rate po is equals to present value minus previous value over previous value times 100.
So yung ano po niya is 2019 GDP value, yung nominal po, minus 2018 GDP value over 2018 GDP value times 100. So 19,517,863 minus 18,265,190 over 18,265,190 times 100. So, ang ano po, difference po nitong dalawa is 1,252,673. Di-divide po siya sa 18,265,190. Tapos ito times po sa 100 yung magiging value. So, ito po, 0.0685825332230 times 100 or 6.85825 so on po. Or if rounded off po is magiging 6.86%. Tapos yung real GDP po is growth rate present value minus previous value over previous value times 100.
That's correct. So you have 6.86 and 6.2. Okay. Thank you, Jason, for
Hilo na naman ako.
okay. So, are there any questions kung paano nasagot yon? If none, we can proceed to number 2. Okay, kung wala, sige. What is the GDP deflator for 2019? How do you compute for the GDP deflator? Anyone? Kung walang sasagot, I'll call. Anyone from the class? Okay, wala. Let's have Zedrix. Zedrix, what is the GDP deflator for 2019? How do you compute for it?
Hindi ko po siya, sir, nasagutan.
Sige, it's okay. It's okay. Anyone from the class who knows how? Sige, Adrian. How do you compute for the GDP deflator?
I just, excuse me. I just divided po yung nominal GDP and with the real GDP and multiplied it to 1,000 and
Multiply by?
1,000, no, 100 po.
Yes, okay. Okay, so that would give you 100.76.
100 points.
70.
Do
So,
we have to round it up po?
yes, at least for 2 decimal places.
No.
Up to 2 decimal
Alright po.
places. Yeah. That's 100.76 or 0.77 if. Okay. Okay, see you next. Thank you, Adrian. What were the growth rates of nominal and real GDP for 2015? May nakakuha pa? Okay, so how do you So GDP growth rate is simply GDP T at time T minus GDP time T minus 1 over GDP times T minus 1 at time T minus 1 times 100. This is your growth rate, okay? For our GDP deflator, that is just simply your nominal GDP, sulat ko lang yung mga sagot ha, over real GDP times 100. So that is your GDP deflator. Okay. Ja, you raised your hand. What were the growth rates of nominal and real GDP for 2015?
Pwede pong
Screen.
mag-share, sir.
Yeah, sure. Stop sharing.
Kita na po ba?
Yep.
I okay, growth rate in ng nominal GDP in 2015 is nominal GDP minus the nominal GDP in 2014 over nominal GDP in 2014 times 100. So substituting the values, we get 5.58% increase in growth rate in 2015 nominal GDP, while the real GDP, using the same equation, pero using the real GDP values, we'll get 6.34% increase in growth rate. Ayun po.
Thank you, Ja. Let me just take the screen ulit to show to you the answers. Ayan. Okay, next time. Ayan. Okay, as you can see, the difference between, or why are we doing this? We're just trying to see the difference between your nominal growth rates and your real growth rates. No? In 2014 to 2015, nominal growth rate is only 5.58%. However, your real growth rate is 6.35%. What does this mean? Ano kayang ibig sabihin nito when your nominal is lower than your real growth rate? Anyone? Sige, I'll call. Sino pang hindi nag-recite? Let's have Hannah. Hannah Bayo. Are you here with us?
Yes, sir. Pero pwede pong ako na lang po yung sasagot sa next question.
Sige, sige. Let's have Angel Alnido. Angel? What could be the explanation why our nominal GDP growth rate is lower than the real GDP growth rate? Or what does it mean? Angel, are you with us? Sorry, medyo mahina. Hello, Angel. Medyo mahina. Hello? Yes? Ayan, pero medyo mahina lang yung boses mo, Angel.
Hindi ko po masyadong sure, sir. Pero possible po at na magkaroon ng inflation po.
Sorry, possible na?
May inflation po na mag-occur.
Okay, close to that. No, it doesn't necessarily have to be inflation, pero it could be that prices are because of the change in price. No, thank you for your answer, Angel. As you can remember, your GDP is simply P times Q, right? So if we are trying to get our real GDP, it's somehow letting the prices to be constant and allow the quantity to increase. So from 2014 to 2015, it can be shown that it was output that increased during that period instead of just prices. Contrary to that, as you can see in 2018 and 2019, with a lower real GDP of 6.4 compared to the nominal GDP of 6.85, it follows that prices rose higher than output. Kasi di ba sa nominal, hindi ka sure kung sino sa prices ba siya or sa output ba siya. But in this case, yung weight is more on the prices than compared to the potential increase in output. Okay. Sige. Next, let's okay, Max Restaurant in Subic had sales revenue of 30 million in 2019. Its food ingredients cost 15 million. Okay, its wage costs were 5 million. It paid 3 million in rent and 2 million in interest. What was its contribution to GDP for 2019? And how much profit did the owners of the restaurants make? Okay. Okay, see. Anyone? Anyone who would like to answer number 5? Alright. Hindi pa na-compute yung 4. So, let's go back to number 4 lang muna. I think Janelle already. Wait lang, may chat si Janelle. Sabi niya, well, sagot siya sa chat pero the answer is 2.47%. So just simply again, you simply compute for the nominal over real. That should give you 24%. Okay. Sige, let's go back to question number 5. Okay, sige. Wait lang Who are raising their hands? Sorry. Sige, number 5. Sino yung nakita ko kanina? Sige, Maxine. Number 5.
For the number 5 po, sir, just like from the discussion a while ago po, I added all the costs po, which is 25 million all in all. And then our total revenue is 30 million. And then the formula for computing the profits is total revenue less the total cost. So 30 million less 25 million is 5 million po. That's the profit.
So what was its contribution for 2019?
What?
So if the profit is 5 million,
Yes po.
then what is the contribution to GDP for 2019 of Max Restaurant in Subic? That should be the answer. Let's see. Or na? Sige. Let's have Janelle. Nag-raise ka ng hand, Janelle.
Opo. But I'm not sure po, sir.
Mhm.
I did 30 million minus 15 million plus 5 million plus 3 million plus 2. So I got 25 million po yung contribution sa GDP.
Are you sure? But what about the profit?
Sir, iba po yung nakuha kong profit from what Maxine said.
Ano yung profit mo?
Hindi ko po na-subtract yung rent and interest. So nakuha ko po was 15.
Yeah. So, subtract mo din muna para you'll be able to get the profit. Sige, nag-raise ng hand si Angel. Angel, yes. What should be, 25 million is not the contribution of Max. Okay, sige. Anong sagot, Angel?
Try ko lang din po.
Yeah.
Ang ginawa ko po is GDP is equals to yung wages, interest, rent plus profit po, which gives the results po of 15 million po sa GDP.
Wages, rent, interest, plus profit, yes, that should be the contribution to GDP. Okay, which is 15 million. Okay, thank you, Angel. Okay, now let's move to number 6. Assume that no government and no international trade in a country show that measured savings is identical to measured investment. Ganito. Sige, so what does it mean when a country has no government and no international trade? It just follows that your GDP is simply C plus I. Okay? So, merong mga nakasagot niyan. Show that measured savings is identical to measured investment. One from the class. Sige, let's try na lang. So, in your product approach, ako na lang no, product approach, GDP is equal to consumption plus investment. Right? In your income approach, income approach na yan siya. Your GDP is simply equal to S plus C. Right? The savings plus the consumption, household consumption, savings of the corporate, yun, savings. Di ba? Kasi yung income nila, kasi wala namang government, so there are no taxes, right? There are no transfer payments. If you can, sige, ibalik ko kayo dun sa ating whiteboard for you to see. Okay, here. You can see if here, okay, ko lang orange, okay? There are no transfer payments, there are no taxes, okay? There are no transfer payments since no government, no corporate taxes, no indirect taxes, okay? No government, and no net exports. So what is left is your savings, personal savings, your corporate savings plus depreciation, and wala din to, right? So, on this side, I'm sorry, my apologies to that. No? On this side, ang matitira na lang is your, okay, sulat ko na lang para malinaw. Okay. So sa income approach side, ang matitira na lang is C, household consumption, plus personal savings, plus corporate savings, right? Plus depreciation, which is just simply your total business savings, equal to GDP, C plus I, right? Okay, so since this is just equal to savings, yan. Savings lang naman to. So you have C plus S equal to C plus I. Hence, S is equal to I. Okay, nakuha? So that's how in an economy with no government and no international trade, savings, may it be from personal savings or business savings, just equal to the total investments. Okay? Okay. Last one, tapusin na lang natin, 30 minutes, o 30 na pala. Okay. Which of the following are not included in the Philippine GDP? Sige. Sige. Number 1, letter A, gourmet meal prepared at home by the homeowner. Just call names na lang. Madami-dami naman ito. Sige, let's have Hannah Bayo. Is this included or not?
Not included po.
Okay, not. Let's have Zandra. Purchase of a 1,000 square meter lot in Makati.
Not included po, sir.
Why?
Kasi po, hindi po counted sa gross domestic product since yung purchase po sa land is may imputed value po, sir. So, yung imputed value po yung item na hindi, yung assumed value given to an item po when the actual value is not known or available po.
Okay, so you're correct. So in short, this is just a transfer of property. So hindi siya kasama sa GDP kasi hindi naman siya bagong land na nabuo. Okay? Next, purchase of a roast chicken from Mang Andok's Chicken in Asal. Let's have Adrian.
Sir, I think yes, because it's final product already.
Yes, are correct. Let's have Eliza. Purchase of an original Amorsolo painting.
Sir, yes din po.
Why is it a yes?
From my perspective po, I looked at the painting as a product na din po.
Yes, it is a product. However, it was not made on that year. So like same as a 1,000 square meter lot, it is not included since it was only a transfer of property from one owner to another. Okay. Okay, next. Profits of Jollibee from its restaurants in the USA. Zedrix.
Not included po because it was
Why?
in the USA. Therefore, because it was in the USA, therefore it is not a domestic product.
Right, you're correct. Not included. Okay, Erica. Tips received by the meal server in Carinderia.
Hindi po, sir.
Okay, why is it not included?
Kasi po, hindi naman malalaman din kung magkano binigay or binigyan ba talaga ng tips.
Right there. So this is part of the non-market na mga activities. So, sino pa ba hindi ko natatawag? Ella, Dalida, damage to houses and crops from pollution resulting from mining operations.
Not included na po, sir, kasi ano po siya, environmental damage po.
Right, you're correct. Thank you. Raisa, profits of a drug dealer from his shabu sale.
Not included po, sir.
Okay, that's correct. Again, illegal activity, not included. Okay. Last two, the second to the last, a subject, the salary of a caregiver from her care of a wheelchair-bound gentleman.
Included po, sir.
Yes, that's included. Last one, let's have Camille. The wheelchair-bound gentleman marries the caregiver in the preceding question and she continues to take care of him. Ay, Camille ba yun tinawag ko? Sino ba yung tinawag ko? Let's have Eliza. Eliza, are you with us?
Answer no po.
Okay. Thank you. So the answer is only letter C and letter I ang included sa Philippine GDP. Hindi na natin nasakop yung consumption function and investment. Well, let's try to. We'll give you an exercise on it by Thursday para ma-practice. We won't be having a discussion class next week kasi wala namang pasok. So this is our second to the last discussion class before the exam. So dalawang discussion classes lang tayo for the third exam. So medyo kaya nyo yan. Okay, any questions? Now for this homework, you don't need to submit it to us. Yung ibibigay lang namin this coming Thursday. If you have any questions, just email me. If you have any concerns, we'll try to, if you need more time for review or gusto nyo, just email me if you have questions. Okay?
Yes po, sir. Thank you po, sir.